Yes.
Golf course meeting for Tuesday, January 7th in order. We have a forum, but I would like to think so. Sue, you could set the bill, and Allison, you can leave. We have, before we get any further, I have an addition to add to the conservation business discussion on 24 acres of Meadowwood. We have a motion to still move. Second, or all in favor? Minutes for December 17th. Are there any changes, corrections, additions? Motion to accept the meeting?
Motion to accept it.
Second, Sergeant. All in favor? Aye. All right, so we are going to do the
Right, we have a bit of a reorder. The CC number 2501 is just for receipt, but we are going to do CC 2439, the map amendment, first. It's the public hearing.
Order. CC number 25-39, approving the rural owner for map amendment. Regulated activity of 35 lot road, 70.A16, lot 404, lot 001-1. So let's see. The applicant, you would like to speak?
I'll just start. I'm going to start with a brief summary. We don't get many of these applications for map amendments, but essentially the applicant would like to revise the wetland soil boundaries. As you can see, the light green area is what is currently on our maps, and a soil scientist was hired and delineated the soils, and the new boundary is that blue dotted line. And just of note, the soils are a larger part. On the neighboring property to the north, those are going to stay. And so yes, that's it. And so these applications require a public hearing to change the maps. That's all I have. Yes.
The soil scientist is not here. I'm Brian Deno from Deno Land Surveying, here to speak on behalf of the owner and applicant, Tim Brewer. What we have here is we're trying to revise the wetlands line to reflect what is actually on the ground. JNM Associates, soil scientists, flagged the wetlands back in 2022, and Hesketh Associates located and mapped them for a free split on this property back in 2022. What they did was they cut out the existing house and barn and put it on 1 acre along the road, and the remaining 4 acres was retained by Kim. So she could build a house in the future, and that's what we would like to do now. Unfortunately, back in 2022, when they did all that work, they had the wetlands flagged, they put it on the map, but they did not come and ask for a wetlands boundary amendment. So that's what we're here tonight to ask for. If you visited the site, the wetlands are pretty evident in the woods in second growth, and where she wants to put her house is in an open field. But as Brittany said, to the north, we can't amend those wetlands because we don't own that property. We're not working for that owner. So that has to stay where it is on the official line. But to the rear of that circle that Brittany shows on her plan, there actually is a house and a septic system to the west of that. There's, the wetlands are pretty self-evident by the topography. And any questions you have about the wetlands line, you have to answer. Right.
First, the area that was mapped originally with appropriate air photos to these.
I'm sorry.
The original line for the wetlands was probably mapped.
Yeah, that's done like that at 2400 scale. Yes, from aerial photography. And actually, the wetlands here actually is pretty consistent on the west side over there.
Yeah.
With what that is. But this is all open. It's an open meadow and has been for as long as Kim has been there, which she's been there a long time.
Is the topography slope down to that southwest corner?
Yes, it does. If we can go to the line maps, the map that shows the wetlands line, you'll see where it.
On the application?
Yes.
Okay.
At the road, it goes from 308 up to a high spot in the middle of 315, and then it drops back down to 308 or 309, back by the top of the wetlands.
Oh, so it's pretty flat. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Once you get there. Those are actually 1 foot contours. This is the high spot at 315. The road's at 309, and the back here is at 309 also. And then it rises back up to a very steep area at the Canton town line. It drops down and then it goes up probably another 50 feet after it gets into Canton. But you can see the edge of woods is right there, which will be undisturbed. We do have a little cutting in the woods right there for the grading of the house. But the house is as far forward as it can go, and it can't go here because it's too wide. So the septic is out front. This is all sand. I think we dug 9 feet down and we hit sand and gravel the whole way.
Oh, that's the house the existing structure
That's the existing house at 41.
that just sold like recently. Right?
Yes,
Okay, I drive by that all the time.
Yes.
Now I know exactly where.
yes.
And right now, this particular action item just to approve the change is in
Yes.
the back.
Yes.
We do have, public audience. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? This is not in the audience.
I don't know if this is the scope, but I'll be a butter.
If you can
Oh, yes.
identify yourself.
Yeah, Anthony Soldi, Butters to the North. And I don't know if this is the scope for this, but if the rating is changed there, does that affect the drainage into the existing wetlands?
So that probably would be the next.
Okay, the next page. And then, technical question on the previous map, you showed there was a circle. What is that?
That circle right there,
Yes.
that is where they put the soil, where they excavate for the foundation and the topsoil.
Okay.
And that's
So that'll be removed off site when everything is done.
So, are there any further questions? Audience? If there are none, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we will, public hearing is closed, so we can act on this map amendment. It's been certified by a soil scientist.
Right. I have a motion for you at your table if you wanted to use that.
I'll move that the Conservation Commission approves application CT 2439 of Lee Brewer, owner of the map amendments to the town of Simsbury's official wetlands map to clarify the wetland boundary and regulate activity for 35 Notch Road. Based upon the following finding that the proposed revision to the official town wetland map has been delineated by a certified soil scientist.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
We'll move on to.
So the next item is going to be 2501 for receipt. Yes.
Application CC number 25-01, the Simsbury Brewer, owner for a wetland permit to construct a single-family home with associated improvements, a portion of which are the upland review area of 35 Notch Road, Assessors map A16, lot 404, lot 001-1.
So this is the permit for regulated activity for the construction of the proposed home, the approximately 1,500 square foot home. The wetlands were revised, but again, a portion to the north remains, and therefore the construction of the house is within the regulated area. The closest disturbance of that corner is approximately 40 feet. The applicant also has proposed silt fencing to surround the disturbed area. There also is, so it's the house, but I should mention there's also going to be a well and then parking area in the regulated area.
So this is for the neighboring property,
Yes,
not where
not the applicant's property, right? Not the new map.
We'll stay 100
Right.
feet away from our wetlands. When we put this wetlands on there, that 100 feet comes there. So it encompasses most of the house. We have Farming Valley Health District septic approval. The septic system is well outside the upland review area. It's just the house, the parking area right here, which will remain gravel at this time. And we clear a little bit of trees right there, you can see. And the house is on slab, so the grading is minimum, but we do have to step down the grading. So that's why we ended up having to clear a few trees here. And as one of the neighbors asked, the drainage pattern, this is the high point of the lot right here. That's about 315.2. There's a 315 contour there, 315 contour there, 309 back here. So there is some grading here, but all the water will still flow in the same direction it does today. We're not changing the drainage patterns at all. Most of the water that leaves the house goes down into this low area in here. But this right here, here's the break, and that goes this way into the low area on the neighbor's property. I believe it then goes under his driveway that way. And then there's a large wetlands that crosses Notch Road over near Wildwood. But we protect the site with silt fence. That's silt fence around the material pile, so nothing will run off the site. We have a construction entrance pad at the entrance of the road. And the clearing might be the trees. They're 2 or 3 inches in diameter. They're small trees. It's maybe 75, maybe 100 square feet.
Where's the tree clearing?
The tree clearing is right here, right there.
Are you ready to stop the trees, you know?
Yeah, it'll be long on the dump. The stumps will not be buried. That's against the law. You have to truck the stumps off the site, and they'll be small because the trees aren't very large.
Conservation Commission, will you be, are there any invasive plants present on site that need to be removed?
Not that I saw. I am not a soil scientist, but there's no phragmites or anything.
Any burning bushes?
I was there in the fall and I did not see any burning bush. No Wingy-wattebus. It's actually the swamp down here is mostly red maples. It's very picturesque back there because it rises way up the hill in Canton. And that's why she wants to put her house here so she can see the foliage. But I know it's pretty well mowed, and the woods are the woods, and I haven't seen any invasive plants.
We're always excited about it.
Yeah.
Any application comes before, we're always reminding people, remove the invasive.
I mean,
Plant natives.
that could be part of the approval is if we run any invasive plants, remove them
And
and plant natives.
especially since you're close to wetlands.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's something that's good for.
When do you think you'll be doing this?
I'm sorry.
When do you think you'll be doing construction?
She would like to do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
It's a prefab house, so she's really waiting for approval, so we can put the foundation in, have it delivered.
But it's a slab foundation.
Yes,
They have to pour the concrete and then a bunch of trucks show up and.
yes, that's it. Yeah, it'll be rather quick construction.
We have pretty good service.
And then, and the excess soil will be taken off site, you saying?
If there is excess soil, yeah, the hole won't be very big. The excess material pile is where you push the topsoil while you're doing construction. Put silt fence around it, protect it from running off, then you'll respread the topsoil when you're done,
And then stabilize.
stabilize and seed.
So there'll be a few months. You do it now.
If we do it now, it'll be ready to be planted in spring season.
I'll move that the commission approve the application 2439 Finley Brewer owner. Also,
Yep. So this is either non-significant or significant. Yeah, I didn't make an motion for this is just determination of significance. Yes, yes.
Okay. I would say because the regulator, this is the regulator review, this but it's significant, we will deal with it.
Or is it regulated?
It's regulated activity, but it's not significant, and we will deal with that. That's good.
Yep.
That was brutal.
Wow. Thank you very much. Agent actions.
I just have one quick agent action for 125 Latimer Lane. This was a 11 square foot sign in a regulated area. There are two posts to be installed. There'll be state hay bales during the installation. And yeah, I think that's all I have for that one.
The discussion about emergency measures or
Okay. So this is an update on soil and erosion control measures at Luminary. I'll just do a quick summary, and then we have Mr. Chris Nelson here, the property owner and developer for the site. Over the New Year break, our office got alerted of debris running off into the Farmington River. Our town staff and our engineering office with zoning and planning went out to inspect and saw that there was some soil and erosion control measures that were not installed according to plan. There's some breaches to it. So after that inspection, we contacted the applicant, the developer, who quickly responded and put together a plan for how they're going to stabilize the site. I have a timeline that I provided. It was over a couple of days over the holiday. They hired SLR, the engineering firm, to come and do a revised soil and erosion plan to button up the property. But we have Chris here who can kind of better explain what happened during that time and what's going to be done.
Good evening. I'm sorry I'm here under the conditions. My name is Chris Nelson. I'm the owner of 3236 Iron Horse Boulevard. My company, Nelson Construction, is the contractor building a new luxury apartment community. We did have a release of salty water on December 30th, and it was something I regret. It should not have happened. I've been asked to talk to the commission about what happened, why our plan was out of compliance, and why we're doing that. So that's all I'll just walk through that. The new community is going to be called Luminary. It was previously known as Barber Cove, and I'll explain that in a minute. But you may have seen these pictures on the projector right now. The shots were taken by a resident flying a drone. The picture on the right shows the full construction site and Barber Cove in the foreground. That's the water in the foreground. It's Barber Cove. It's kind of a, in wetter times, it does connect to the Farmington River. In drier times, it's really just a stagnant pond type of pool area. The picture on the left shows the silty discharge that went into the cove waters. You can see the silt that migrated in. On the upper picture on the left, you can also see there's a retention basin. Thank you.
You just have to press the green.
Mhm.
In the middle, that circle, yep.
That right there is a retention basin. This was obviously a significant event, but corrections are happening, and it pointed out a couple other areas we were negligent as well. Although significant, it may look worse than it was. Slide 3. Our site contractor is installing a drainage pipe. He's been doing a lot of drainage work. And a large concrete treatment unit was on back order. The contractor left a depression at the end of the pipe, and the rain event allowed silty runoff to enter the depression and flow through our new piping straight into the riprap basin you see on the left picture. So that's the riprap basin that's intended to be there. We never intended for water to go into it at this point. Fortunately, the silt fence and straw wattle behind the basin stopped any actual silt from leaving the work area. It was only the silty turbid water. So on the right-hand side, you can see the back part of that basin, the silt fence, some gravel or stone, and the straw wattle. And on the other side of the silt fence, there is no evidence of silt that migrated off the property. So it was really just the dirty water that migrated through. Either way, that shouldn't have happened. It was a mistake on site, but our construction team also failed to install a temporary sediment trap and grading that could have stopped runoff from entering that drainage ditch. There were reasons why the plan needed to be modified, but we hadn't adjusted the plan soon enough. Since the event, we've gone back to SLR, our engineers, to create a revised plan. They walked the site with me last week, Friday, immediately after we knew it happened. We made several recommendations to avoid further issues. Those include finishing the silt fence on the north side, undisturbed areas. The far left-hand side of the site, we really haven't touched. We've finished most of the silt fence all around the rest, including the straw wattle and burned areas as instructed all the way around. Then now, new guidance is to take 3 acres of the site. We just have too much disturbed right now. And part of that is because of some grading and FEMA issues. But the areas in green, we're going to blow fiber mulch with a tackifier to seal the surface for the next several months. So we're just taking 3 acres right off the table because we aren't working in those areas. The other areas we're actively working in utilities and whatnot. They want us to bring in several flock logs, which have already been ordered. And flock logs are kind of a block, and the chemical makeup of them, the water flows over, silty water can flow over it, and it somehow through molecular structure helps the particles precipitate out of the water. So they're quite effective, and so we'll be putting them wherever we have runoff that's entering into our sediment basins, temporary sediment basins. Adding 3/4-inch stone in several areas around structures and building check dams in different areas. Add several smaller temporary sediment traps around the site and one large one in the middle of the site. That picture on the left, we've already gone after this and created that new central sedimentation trap. On the far side, you see there is a discharge pipe. There's probably 5 feet of potential runoff water that could sit in that basin. and then it would migrate through that stone and into a pipe that brings it out to a relief area. And then there's a larger eastern temporary sedimentation trap where there was one indicated farther to the north, but we're sliding it quite a bit south where there's no giant fill pile, and creating a level spreader at the top so that it's going to retain a lot of water and let anything silt out. And if there ever was a storm big enough to overflow that volume, it would go through a level spreader down into a very highly vegetated slope and into some existing grass. And I think you can see that on the next slide. That slide on the left is a grassed area, and you can see the vegetated hill. So the level spreader is up above. This is still all in the construction area. We were supposed to rip up that grass and put a sedimentation basin down in that lower level grassed area. It being November at the time that we were getting to work, we thought that was not a wise idea, and we should migrate that to a different area and use that grass as additional protection. So that's why it wasn't installed as originally intended. Either way, we should have built the upper one sooner. We hadn't. So now we've modified the plan and we've gone ahead and done that. So in addition to these site plan corrections, this really bothers me that this happened, but I've chosen to retain Tom Daly from SLR to inspect and report on our ENS activities bi-weekly until the site is stabilized, and that could be a year or more. So he will be retained by us to make recommendations. And as construction progresses, soil and erosion control plans need to be flexible enough to kind of adjust with the phasing as construction progresses. And so he'll be right there giving us guidance on those changes. And if we do have to file subsequent plans as modifications are recommended, we will. So, although we don't have the formal modified plan yet to submit, it's going to look a lot like this. We did submit this draft plan, and we've already made several other recommendation actions. The balance of the work will be completed within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're waiting for the hydroseeding company with the mulch pack. So there was a mistake by the site contractor allowing water to flow into a trench. That's what caused the silt going into that basin. But the bigger issue was we hadn't gotten a couple TSTs kind of functioning properly yet. Now that is done. And I'm happy to answer questions or meet any of you on site if you'd ever like to see the site.
So by not having the things in place first, that's where the runoff would have gone. Have they been in place?
Yes, the guy shouldn't have left that open trench within a drainage path. But if we had kind of graded properly, we would have the water would have gone into these TSTs. Either case, the secondary layer of silt fence and straw wattle did stop silt from going off. We just had muddy water that might be.
The silt would be suspended. There was some silt.
There was some silt, yeah. I don't know what the right term is between
Suspended.
Yeah.
So the original plans, the original erosion sediment control was approved, was looked at by town engineer. They're trying to think what the town can learn from this, as well as we certainly, learn what.
I can tell you what I learned from that. Yeah. I shouldn't have released my contractors to start pipe work for a foundation until all measures were in place. We had 75% of the measures in place. And I should have had a walk-in inspection for 100% of the measures before we went to the first. And that would have caused me to have to come back and modify the plan. because of some existing conditions that didn't make sense.
Yeah, there's often disconnect between what's put on the paper and what's
Yeah.
put on the website.
These things are fluid,
So,
pun intended.
so that's what you're learning.
Right. Right. So typically town staff goes out and inspects. I believe that occurred in the site, the silt fencing was up. So it was, I believe that it was sufficient, but it wasn't. And there were elements that weren't in place that should have been, that should have been caught by staff as well.
We haven't made staging up, doing the whole site.
Right. So it was approved as I believe it was approved to be done all at once, but then decided to do phasing of it. And also as
Really not phased. You can't do it all at once. You have to kind of.
right. But now we try to, when applications like this are submitted and passed, we ask for a phasing plan just to get a good idea with building department as well, to know what to expect when the sequence of construction, basically. Yes.
Would you be looking for more belts and suspenders? Approach for each department. I mean, this was a big project.
Right. Right. I don't know if there was, again, on paper, I think everything was approved. The engineering office approved it. But again, as Mr. Nelson mentioned, things can get modified. It's almost expected when you're out in the field that it be minor modifications here and there. And typically when these occur, there'll be a conversation with our engineering office about it, and then they'll give the okay to do it.
It could be that for me, if there are going to be changes to the soil erosion control plan, even by moving basins or things like that, it should have a administrative approval with an town engineer to say, yes, we agree, just as they did with the original plan. I don't know that it has to come back here if we're moving the thing 50 feet left, right. It just has to be reviewed by an engineer who agrees with us and says, okay, yes, do that, we'll come out and inspect, then you're good to go.
Right.
We had a giant fill pile where one of those, when that happened over the past 4 or 5 years, there's a giant fill pile where one of those basins was supposed to be. It didn't make any sense to move a giant pile of fill to dig a hole for where water could go and create more of it.
Tell me again about the blocks.
Oh, they're blocks, like flocculate. And it's like an adjuvant. It kind of ionizes particles so they cling together and come out. Right. And so what the engineers have learned that you can just hang these things in a stream and it will kind of put a different charge on the water and cause this. And this took quite effect. They're not there you go. There.
There's a picture of them.
It's not going to stop everything, but it will cause a lot of suspended particles to come up, which is the job.
And we use them in town before.
This is the first I had to Google it to know what it was. But we did talk to the engineer about it, and he's familiar with them.
We actually
and it's a practice.
We use some person. And then what?
Yeah. I just wonder if it's something else. Things in the fields that.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
This stayed in Barber Cove. Okay. It didn't get out to the front. There could be a little tributary that connects the two, and really it's short. But
what was Barber Cove? Was that like was the Farmington at one point 1,000?
Actually, Barber Cove was where Simsbury had a easement and connection, I think a railroad spur at one point. And they would bring sludge down from Main Street and dump it in Farther Cove. Now, this was obviously before the condition. But that was what Farther Cove was way 100 years ago.
We have Oxbow. Part of the river.
Yeah.
But it is,
Yeah.
you know, but those Oxbows are wonderfully valuable wetland things.
Sure, this is part of the wetland system.
But but by preventing by the erosion control is meant to keep that from filling up prematurely.
I'm sorry that it happened. We got lulled into a negligence on the TS, relocating the TS, and that's what caused this. Or one of the contributing factors.
I'm grateful for citizens who flew over the drone over and was able to see that before an action decision.
Well, it was timely. I'm glad we're aware of it now because we can have, this was not a really big rainstorm. We could have 2 or 3 inch rainstorms that could be much worse. And at least this way we're already set for that type of.
Are they going to send a patrol staff for the 1-inch storm or are they set up for the larger storm?
I am not sure that. I assume the 100. Actually, no, I don't know the answer to that. We have 2024 soil and erosion guidelines that our engineering office looks at. Right. But in terms of the specifics for each version, I'm not sure of that.
It's a pancake, and that's part of why we couldn't really put the basins where we needed, because water wasn't going to flow up. Some of the areas in the back, in the right-hand corner, were higher, so it didn't make any sense to put a basin there. To try to cut it hard enough over 600 feet, you can't flow water. Even if it's flat, you can't flow water that far.
Well, fixing reports as a foundation person, we always ask them, have you noticed any invasive plants on your site?
I have not. I think of more the knotweed and the burning bush. I haven't seen those. I'm sure there are. I don't know my plants well enough to tell you this.
Well, the lanterns is what I thought.
Okay. SLR is involved in this landscaping.
Ask them if they're worried.
Yeah. Mark and I at the bottom. I'm sure because
They're ready to go from here.
So this was an update. It's really informational. We are going to get the final plans from SLR that our engineering office is going to review. Those can be brought if you'd like. It won't be a new application. It'll be just a revision to the previously approved application. So it would be informational. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll put a little package together. Bring it to
Mm-hmm.
bring a plan.
Yep. Yeah.
I appreciate the quick action.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah. And
don't
Town
want
staff
to
also
operate the way-
apologizes. So.
Maybe I should do that myself. But Simsbury Grist Mill, we own that. Our office is right there. We did execute some repairs. We tried to protect things as much as we could, but we had the dam strong leak, and we had to go down and dig, make those corrections on an emergency basis. We did the work that was necessary. We had SLR involved, monitoring things, put it all back together. So
We're all down.
it's not that old, but what we found was there was a prior problem that they tried to fix maybe 30 years ago. it kind of flew out again. And if we didn't do it immediately, and because we hit a dry patch, and fortunately that dry patch was long enough for us to get what we had to done before started raining. So you guys didn't see the no water in the pond. We had to drain the pond for a month. So
I did notice.
I know.
I
But-
heard people ask me about it. I was like, oh, super good. I thought it-
it was actually draining itself, but there is a gate valve specifically designed to drain the pond to maintain the dam. And that's exactly what we have.
Are you going down to the?
No, we're not mowing down to the edge. We did take out some of the undergrowth, not right up to the edge, but just cleaning that area up. And I also had someone come out and show us how to get rid of knotweed with his special chemicals and blue dye and cut it off, take it away. So we're doing some of that.
How old is the dam? You know,
There was significant work redone on it in 1980. So was it 45 years old? It's been there for 300 years.
Yeah.
The building is 345 years old. So it's older. It's 100 years older than the country. And they built the dam, build a mill to cut the wood to build the town, which is kind of the history of it.
the original dam is.
Yeah, it's really old. Really old. So, but
Keep that nice buffer.
there's we
Native.
yes.
Yes. I did. I had a very busy time. So this is just an introduction to you of this lighting regulation. If you didn't have to get a chance to review it, that's okay. Maybe next time you can come with your comments. I know Marjorie's looked at it and we went back and forth. I incorporated your comments into it. And so the idea is to, when this is ready to go, we would go to the zoning commission with it. It would be a text change to the zoning ordinance. And then they would have a public hearing for it. What I did was I reviewed the dark sky information. They had a lot of different towns that have incorporated elements of dark sky. And so I've reviewed those towns as well as others. Each town was very different in their approach. It was hard to it was helpful because I took different ideas from different towns, including the dark skies, the more technical information from them. And so that's why you kind of have this in front of you. There's a model reg. Yes. Yep.
There is this isn't the actual regulation. It's, is this an actual regulation or is this sort of the information that go into the regulation?
This is the actual regulation,
Okay.
the draft regulation.
Yeah.
Yep. It is. There's things I took directly from dark sky. The dark sky model ordinance I tried my best to take the elements but make them user friendly, so that because we're going to have developers, applicants, public reviewing these regulations. Also, staff has to enforce it. So I wanted to make sure to capture the essence of the dark sky principles while also being as straightforward and clear as possible. Yeah, well, not philosophies necessarily, just length of some were a couple paragraphs, some were a couple pages, some were very detailed by zone, things like that. Different standards for different uses and types of uses. And so it just ran really the gamut, and some as much as 3 sentences, about it. So I did my best to try to not have a definition section. I hopefully, and that can change, and we can add, so we have a definition section of our zoning regs, so the whole document. So if there's words in here that we think should be defined, they can go in there in that section. So that's yeah, if you have something that you think should be better defined, then. So the whole, I know the dark sky ordinance had one. I didn't see many other towns have that section. The idea is that staff monitors and enforces the whole zoning regulations. And so when these projects come in as a site plan application, we make sure it complies. And then in the future, once the development is built and we hear a complaint or we see a complaint, just like any other regulation, we go out there and we investigate. Right. I mean, we do have staff that live in town. and I know in West Hartford, I had to go out at night a couple times. But sometimes it is as easy as seeing the light fixture. That might be a problem, and noticing that it's tilted up or there's no full cutoff, something like that. So sometimes it can happen during the daytime. Right. At 4:00 it's dark here, so we got a good half hour. Of course.
And then one thing I tried but I'm not sure if that's 4C exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The automatic survey.
Oh, right. And so I added reason. Yeah, I added that sentence to it. Right. Yeah, right. Yep.
Not overcomplicated, define traditional seasonal lighting to some degree.
Yes, we can. And it could be something that we either define or we just add it, seasonal lighting such as, but not limited to, Christmas lights and things like that.
And well, if something comes up that we have a plan for, some kind of planning board, they find something that there's an issue, can they apply for an exemption?
Yep. So this would be that variance process with the zoning board of appeals. Okay. Yep. Yes, there's always that process. So again, I'll put this on the agenda also for next meeting. So if there's, and feel free to email me also with any suggestions.
Are there particular parts of things? Obviously, there's some details in terms of like what the temperature of the lighting should be, or like what things should be on at different times. I could imagine that some of those things might be changing over time for the best practices.
Right.
Do we expect to revisit this in a few years, or how do you handle those?
You can always revisit an ordinance, yeah, or a regulation. So if there was something that, either didn't make sense anymore or you wanted to add, that's definitely could be another text amendment to the regulation.
No, but there's a new type of light for wildlife. I hadn't seen this before. Wildlife have a certain range of nano rays, wavelength. Because even the 2700 has some blue light in it. But the nano well, you know, I had never seen that before, so that would be something that when future we could add. I don't know how many light bulbs there are out there at the
Right.
moment.
Mhm.
This is something we new.
Well, the reason I bring it up is that I suspect that, you can't make one of these things perfect forever. But what that means is that it comes back to us, like every couple of years, we take a look at this thing hard, and then if there's a change that needs to be made, we have to come to the process.
And I think that also will naturally occur once it's implemented, and either developers or public have issues with it. We would probably hear about it as well.
Well, I think it's important when you have those very detailed, sort of numbers.
Right.
So to actively look forward,
Right.
and not wait for people to complain about it. If you're trying to just protect, the dark sky, we want to be more active.
Well, that's what I was saying. I up until last week, I hadn't heard about the wildlife friendly light bulb.
Mhm.
Different than concept. So that would be something that, as they came on the market and be more acceptable, we could add them to the
Mhm.
regulation.
Absolutely. So you need to make sure we're going to do it.
Yeah.
But it has to go on to our work.
Well, the nice thing is a lot of the technology, the lighting technology, so even in the last 10 years, the changes have been so rapid.
Mhm.
There will be things on the market undoubtedly.
Right.
That will improve. But generally, the timing, turning the lights off is the best solution for dark skies. Putting them on a motion sensor,
Right.
but all that technology is now available.
Right. And we all, yes, and we're also cognizant of building code requirements. So I gave this to the building official, also our parks director and our public works director, just to get their feedback as well. So that they've taken a look at it too.
This isn't.
Right.
This is practical.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we've nothing right now. So this is, so,
This is really good.
yeah.
So we might, I'm just thinking, we're going to come back with years, just to make sure it's updated. We probably want to keep a list of who you've already talked to,
Mm-hmm.
so that if 4 or 5 years from now, we're going to go off and they say, oh, we think we got to add these 3 kinds of lights for this reason. We can go back and talk to the same departments.
Yeah, definitely.
So that should be in the district section.
Yep. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So I know what you're saying now. So the idea is when this gets more buttoned up and ready to go, I will do a staff report that kind of goes into the review process and the towns that were looked at in the dark skies, things like that. So
But all of a sudden, probably just about that, they're ready to update us. None of us are here.
yeah.
They'll be able to go back and say, oh, we got to talk to this department, this department, this
Yes.
department, and make sure we do it.
Yep.
So we just have to install into our bureaucracy because people do this.
Mm-hmm.
They look at it every year.
Right. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, we found that away because we don't have to
Mm-hmm.
and the fun part of the property here.
Hoskins Road. Yep. County Road. Yes.
So. They should take a site visit to the site because what you see with soils,
Mm-hmm.
difference between them. You can see why there are these. And I was wondering, I know it's going to be bitterly cold, but that's being late.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about, this is going to be on the agenda for tomorrow's open space commission, but it would be good to have a recommendation from conservation commission, but this would be, if it would be a good thing to do. Because eventually this will have to go before
Board of Selectmen. Yep. Yep.
we could rush to get here for the site.
Mm-hmm. So that would be a special meeting that we can schedule. Do you want to schedule it? Okay.
things, I mean, it's hard to do an afternoon one because the days are short.
Right. Did you want to do it before the next meeting? Okay.
Okay.
March, I mean, if it's, you know,
Okay.
because we
Okay.
don't have this- Want to remember to put it on so that people make certain.
Yes.
It's just a fun time to get to the site visit.
Okay.
This will be on a Saturday morning, and I'm not sure that.
So I will add this onto the next meeting's agenda to set a date for it. Okay.
At some point, it's a little further in the year. This item is summary of any upcoming events. And
You back show too about, charter revision, the
Yeah.
conservation commission. I heard that they were reaching out to commission heads. I just want to make sure that we share our opinion on combining conservation with potentially something else.
And we've been sort of, we are already a part.
I just want to make sure we're heard on that before
Yeah.
decisions are made.
Mm-hmm.
But no one has reached out.
I heard that was ending shortly, so
Really?
yes.
Okay, I will keep whether I.
That they were going to come out with recommendations.
No, that they were going to reach out to.
Oh, that they were going to reach.
to-
Got it.
They would like to do.
Okay.
The only other thing we have that's upcoming is that there'll be a POCD meeting
Mhm.
on January 26th.
29th? 20th or 29th? I don't.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
For that, and the question, what do we want to say in that meeting? So we can, I have some ideas, but, you know, we. Follow that. I think we want to do it for the highlights and stuff that we had in here, but, you know, burning bush, and stuff like the dark skies, you know, the subject group.
Charles and I were out on New Year's Eve with Simsbury Entrance folks and the student from high school, chopping down Burning Bush and we'd love more people to join us.
Mhm.
We'll be looking for a good day. This time of year it's still easy to identify Burning Bush. There is so much that I'm here. No, plenty of work for so many people.
Got everybody's job.
They have told me.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll schedule more dates, as the weather gets warmer, to do some more activities various parts around town. I'm concentrating on Onion Mountain right now. We have a sign up, to encourage people to, take down their own burning bush in their own yards, so that we don't have to continually take them down in town land. So it's run amok at Onion Mountain. We can now see the foundation.
Oh, good.
Of the old barn. If anyone knows the history of that old barn or whatever the foundation of, I don't know.
Hmm.
But we'll have more removal dates. And hopefully we'll just, if we get more spring, they can do some more publicity town removal dates.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the people that sort of talking to DOC. So that's kind of, but I'll put together something so we can have something to talk to.
So I'll have that on the agenda in the next meeting
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Good opportunity. Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.